Hi, it's Jason Gorber from thatshelf.com. We're here to talk about June 2022 Record Store Day.
Big shelf.
Now, Record Store Day has turned into something of a bit of a nightmare. They release all kinds of stuff. It becomes this whole thing, but it's also a bit of a celebration, of local stores, people who only sort of come out for some exclusive stuff. But there's also a community of people, especially here in Toronto, where we're sort of blessed of being able to support like a large number of independent record stores. There's some really tremendous things. Different stores do things in different ways. Some of the best, Rotate This is a personal favorite, and I went there many times. Now it's a little bit more chaotic. They let in a bunch of people and they all sort of clam in. I'm a big fan of how Sonic Boom does it. That they're now much more orderly. I used to go to Kops all the time. Kops now does all their stuff out in Oshawa. Big shout out to Eugene at Play a Record, which is an absolute institution. It's been around since the early 90s, 1990, I believe. It probably says on the bag. Real amazing, total music lover, and always opens up at 8 o'clock in the morning. So there's sort of a circuit like there is in many cities, and you start seeing the same lunatics over and over. For me, it's really great to see a whole bunch of people looking for different things that I'm looking for. It's usually a pain in the ass when they're looking for the exact same thing I'm looking for, and they're in front of me in line. Nonetheless, I picked up a couple things today. The June release was sort of a rollover release. We've got a whole ton of stuff last time. But this time I thought I would actually show sort of the diversity because such as it is. So for what it's worth, at Sonic Boom, which as I said, has really changed and really improved the way it did. Unfortunately, none of the stuff that I needed was there, or at least stuff that I hadn't got before. I had an event today, so I actually had some friends that were helping me out after I was there early in the morning. But definitely early in the morning, I picked up this gem, which I'm super excited about, which is, I don't know, whatever, you have a price from Play a Record. That is the Royal Tenenbaums soundtrack. Now, I'm a big fan of Wes Anderson at the best of times. I'm a big fan of this movie, and they've been working their way through. Life Aquatic was an absolute must-have. That is my favorite of the Wes Anderson films. God knows that scuba diving and David Bowie sort of speak to me on a real fundamental level. But this soundtrack is beautiful. And all I'm doing, I'm just being a silly person and buying stuff I already had on CD. These will not be particularly amazing audiophile presentations, but just to sit down and listen. Yes, I could watch the movie. But, there's something to be said, once again, about actually having it on vinyl. The inner gatefold, you got a bunch of imagery, you have some text, and let's look what the actual records look like. Now, I say that it is not an audiophile release. It has the bane of my existence, ye old plain paper sleeves. And as I've shown many times before what one has to do with these sleeves, sure, you could pull it out, but the best thing to do is simply pretend like they were never there and sort of unbirth them as best as you can. Go away! There's some schmutz on the record, a couple little bits of that. But it's nice and blue! It's very pretty, with the pink center sticker. Not center sticker, center paper. Same thing here, we have a different color. What do we want to call this? Olive? What do we call this? Whatever it is, it's a very Wes Anderson-y color. There's amazing stuff on here. There's obviously, there's the Nico song that's actually on here was my introduction to that song. It's a really, really beautiful track. There's some other great stuff, Mark Mothersbaugh score, etc., etc., etc. So definitely things to really thoroughly enjoy from here. So that is my Royal Tenenbaums soundtrack, as I make a nice little pile of these records. The next one is even more silly, frankly. This is... could have taken those stickers off. It doesn't really matter. This is essentially if I'm doing the math correctly, whatever. This is the Kenny Jones Who record, It's Hard. Look, this is not an amazing record. I already have this record. What the hell am I doing? Well, it's the half-speed remaster from our friends at Abbey Road. It has bonus disc. This is the 4th anniversary edition of the legendary 1982 album. Yeah, I'm not sure how legendary this is. It is legendary for being sort of one of the more middling releases that they ever did. I actually really like some of the last Who stuff. At least there's stuff to actually dig into. But, you know, whatever. I have a chance to actually dive into this, and somebody who actually really, really does love the Who in all of its iterations. This is something for me, at least, to embrace. Now, this is one of those that you open up. It is not a gatefold. It's a multi-album inside the middle, as it were. And inside here, ooh. I get a lot of posters inside these records, and not many of them I would put on my wall. It would take a bold person to put this iteration of the Who on your wall. But, you know, whatever. God bless. I love that I am now older than the people in that photo. Here we have sort of one step up from those paper sleeves, which is, you know, it's really nice they include these, but it's equally really annoying if the records are inside the paper sleeves. These will obviously be cleaned out and stored in proper rice paper lined in plastic sleeves. So, good color, nice pressings. This is what you get at record store days. You get the fancy color, and as per the Wes Anderson release, a lot of record store day is that it'll be RSD first, meaning that this is the first time that these records will be released this way, and usually there'll be an exclusive thing like colored vinyl. These are actually, so one's orange and one's yellow, just to show the difference. Reasonably flat, looks pretty clean, looks pressed pretty decent. Obviously the joys of Abbey Road. On the half-speed remaster, there's a whole thing. They're actually doing a bunch of the Who tracks that way. Now, I'm somebody who actually has the Classic Records version of the Who stuff. I have lots of digital versions. I know Tommy's coming out half-speed. We'll see how it is. I don't know that I'm going to get another version of Tommy, frankly, because I think I'm going to either listen to the Classic or the box set version, or probably, if I am listening to the digital version, I'm going to listen to the surround sound version. So that's me. Anyway, there's It's Hard from our friends The Who. Now, the hardest record for me to get, which was actually only at Rotate This, there was only a couple copies there, and I actually had to rely upon one of those friends that was actually in line first for me, and even he said, even though it was first in line, it was tough to grab because people were sort of reaching over him to pick up one of the few copies. I think that Rotate was one of the only ones to get this. This really is a fantastic record. The Live Blood, Peter Gabriel. I saw this tour in Montreal. It's Peter Gabriel with the Symphony Orchestra. When this was first announced, it was only going to be, if I recall, London, Los Angeles, Montreal. I went and saw him in Montreal. And I remember it was a show during the Forum, and there was actually playoffs taking place in Montreal at the time. And it's like quiet and beautiful. And the strings are just doing incredible stuff. Again, it's not just one of those sort of like, you know, strings do the pops. They did an incredibly beautiful rendition of a bunch of his tracks using a really impressive contemporary classical composer to actually sort of revise these tracks. He did that Scratch My Back record as well, using a similar ethos. This is the live version of that with the pickup orchestra. Nonetheless, he would be playing in Montreal, and then this quiet thing would be going, and everybody would be there. And suddenly you heard from the bar that's attached in the Forum. So we were empty from it being a hockey arena, but you could actually hear the people celebrating outside. It was amusing and sort of added a level of surrealism, perfect for somebody like Mr. Gabriel. Okay, let's see. Open this guy up and see how this actually behaves. This again is never before released on vinyl. I have it on CD, and here I am buying it again on a format. And again, I guess what it is, I'm just going to rip it, while carefully keeping the sticker on top. I love these stickers, and I keep them as carefully as I can. Just amazing imagery. It's their blood cells on the tip of a needle. He does such beautiful work on the visual thing. It is a straight up gatefold. Wow. Beautiful on the inside. And in here, again, we have picture sleeves. And inside this, we have colored vinyl. Now, as I was suggesting earlier, and I've mentioned in other videos, colored vinyl used to be shit. Not always shit, but usually a problem. You would not go for it. Now the difference sonically is negligible at best, and sometimes it's actually weirdly preferred on colored vinyl because it's actually a smaller press run. So sometimes they're actually more careful with this stuff than less, as weird as that is. Let's look at this one. That one is nice and blood red. There are 3 records in here. And yeah, they're all the same. Nice and flat. And bloody red. I'm putting them flat for now. Never store your records flat, of course. They're just going to be in line to go into my beloved degritter. And there we are. Beautiful stuff. Lifeblood conducted by Ben Foster. That's the guy who did the orchestration. Sorry, excuse me. Ben Foster, I'm getting my names wrong. Ben Foster conducted the symphony that we saw. Arranged by John Metcalf and Peter Gabriel. It was John Metcalf who actually did the additional arrangement, along with Will Gregory. Additional brass by John Metcalf. Book of Love, arranged by Nick Ingram. Now that's interesting because Nick Ingram goes back to the very early days of Jesus Christ Superstar, doing a bunch of stuff. He actually did the original string arrangements on Superstar. So now I know who Nick Ingram is, and it's interesting to see his name continuing to pop up. And now inside this was one that was not on my list to get, but it's one of those things I sort of swung by after all was said and done to see what was sort of left over. And I picked up this one, and I know nothing about this other than how can you go wrong with that sleeve? Young Holt Unlimited plays Superfly. I'm like, okay, cool. Is this honest to God cover album of the Superfly record? Sure. I literally know nothing about this, but I'm opening it up, and that is, I think, an underappreciated thing about Record Store Day. Sure, there's lots and lots of stuff that we know we want, or some sort of limited edition thing or whatever. But there's something to be said about just looking at that cover and saying, when would I ever see this? When would I ever dig in? What would prompt me to get this other than the fact that I have a limited selection, relatively limited selection of stuff, and that's what I'm going through. And then I find something new and fun and amazing to dig in. Lost 70s Soul Crate Digger Classic. Well, that certainly sounds up my alley. Once again, the nonsense paper thing, and a spectacularly yellow version of this record. You can hear how staticky it is. All that picking up, yeah, gross. I cannot wait to actually clean this off. Little bits of paper all over the vinyl. It will clean up nice, and it should play great. So there you go. That's what I picked up for this June 2022 Record Store Day. I figured you'd have some fun living vicariously. There were a couple records that just did not make it into Canada. I'm waiting for some of those to show up. I feel bad for us. Obviously, we were standing in line, but I also feel bad for the retailers. They're just having to juggle all this stuff. I'm hoping it makes it worthwhile, especially for these indie stores, to actually get people. And more importantly, I hope it gets people introduced to record stores they don't normally go into. For example, Dead Dog Records is another one. I never shop at Dead Dog, but it was nice. I actually went today to try to support them. They didn't have anything they had that I wanted, or at least what they had, it was stuff that I already had picked up. But it's just another excuse. I love having this ecosystem, this group of passionate retailers that are here to support this hobby. Obviously, I buy stuff online all the time, but there's something to be said about being able to go into a shop and actually, as it were, dig through the crates. And especially when you have pioneers such as Eugene at Played a Record, Pierre and his team at Rotate. Again, shout out to Kops, even though they don't do much stuff in Toronto anymore. Sonic Boom, which is our sort of more massive size of what it's going through. Dead Dog, and all the other stores, Pop Music, many places that sort of are making a go of it, tiny, making a go of it, and actually encouraging those in the city to embrace not only the collectability of vinyl, but just the appreciation of music. So a shout out on this record store day to those record stores that make my days very happy indeed. For ThatShelf.com, I'm Jason Gorber. Thanks so much for watching. We will see you next video. Please subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you picked up this record store day, and we will see you next video. All the best. Take care.